Luo Wence's message made Xu family hall fall completely silent.
Hospital. Those two words weighed more heavily than any threat. An abandoned mall could be sealed.
A live stream warehouse could be stormed.
An Anxu office building could be investigated.
White Tower learning space could suspend classes.
But a hospital was different. Inside a hospital, someone might be undergoing emergency resuscitation. Someone might be surviving on machines. Someone might be waiting for medication. Someone might need surgical consent signed. Someone might truly be unable to stop first.
Luo Wence knew this very clearly. So when he chose a hospital for the next round, it was not a random challenge. It was a precise attack on the core of the rules Obsidian had just established.
Stop first. Instability may be accompanied. Unclear intention must not be treated as consent.
These were reasonable in most situations. But inside a hospital, emergency treatment sometimes truly required immediate decisions.
If Obsidian's rules were handled badly, they could be accused in return of obstructing treatment.
Chen Shu was the first to react.
He does not simply want to attack a hospital. He wants to force us to answer the question of emergency medical authority.
He Chuan's remote voice was also heavy.
In medical scenarios, substitute consent, emergency treatment, sedation, restraint, and data sharing all have real-world legitimacy. Luo Wence will mix correction into them. Qingcen looked toward the categories on the whiteboard. Substitute correction consent. Qualification lock.
Real-world soul pacifying register.
Echo contamination. White Tower reflection. Every line could become more complicated inside a hospital. For example, if a patient was unconscious, could family sign on their behalf? If a patient was mentally confused, could a doctor sedate them? If a patient muttered correction language in their sleep, was that part of the illness? Could medical assistance qualification refer to synchronization stability? Could death data be used as a risk model? If a patient said withdrawal, but withdrawal would affect surgery or treatment, what should be done?
These questions could not be solved by a single sentence like withdrawal is valid.
Lin Yao looked at the message Luo Wence had left and did not rush to speak. He knew that this time, they could not rely only on on-site countermeasures.
They had to establish medical scene boundaries in advance.
Otherwise, the moment they entered the hospital, Luo Wence would drag them into his rhythm. He wrote on the whiteboard. Medical Scenario Contingency Plan. Rule 1, life-saving treatment and correction process must be separated. Rule 2, emergency medical treatment may proceed first, but must not carry synchronization correction, return to teen language, or abandonment of withdrawal. Rule 3, family members may legally sign medical consent on behalf of a patient where the law permits, but may not complete divine domain correction consent on behalf of the patient. Rule 4, sedation and restraint must be for medical necessity. They must not be used to complete correction or suppress withdrawal. Rule 5, a patient's sleep-talking, loss of name, or correction language is high-sensitivity information and must not be treated as ordinary medical records for external flow. Rule 6, death data must not be used as a correction stability benchmark for the living. Rule 7, medical assistants must not make synchronization correction an implicit condition. After those 7 rules were written, everyone in the hall fell silent. They were only a contingency plan. But they already revealed the difficulty of the hospital battlefield. Yi Jiwei said, "We need a medical ethics consultant." Chen Shu nodded. "The one from the joint meeting may be available." Qingcen checked. "Her name is Lu Qingcen."
At the joint meeting, she supported classifying original dream speech as high-sensitivity data.
"Maybe we can bring her in."
Lin Yao said, "Contact her."
Very soon, Lu Qingcen joined the call. She was a female physician around 40. Her voice was clear, and her tone was gentler than Meng Hong's, but not soft. After hearing Luo Wence's hospital warning, she asked only one question. Do you know which hospital? Qingcen shook her head. Not yet. Qingcen said, then start from the most likely possibilities. Which medical assistance platforms has Anxu data connected to? Does White Tower have any partner psychiatry departments or youth psychosomatic departments? Has the second research group's high synchronization anxiety calming audio ever been tested in medical scenes? He Chuan answered remotely, for the third one, I am checking. Qingcen said coldly, not checking. Check now. He Chuan paused. Understood. Lin Yao immediately had a better impression of this medical ethics consultant. She did not merely support them gently. She knew that in medical scenarios, delay could cost lives. A few minutes later, He Chuan reported back. The high synchronization anxiety calming audio was tested in 2 low-risk medical cooperation scenarios. One was a sleep disorder clinic. One was a youth psychosomatic support ward. Qingcen's face changed. Which hospital? He Chuan gave the name. Mingde General Hospital. Qingcen was silent for a moment. I used to work there. Qingcen immediately looked up Mingde General Hospital. It was a large private hospital. It had an emergency department, psychiatry, youth psychosomatic medicine, a sleep center, long-term care wards, and a partner medical assistance fund. More importantly, Anxu Data had once provided assistance qualification stratification for that partner fund. White Tower's Psychological Support Center had also co-hosted lectures with Mingde Hospital's Youth Psychosomatic Department. Every line met at Mingde. Lin Yao looked at the map. Luo Wence's next point is very likely Mingde. Chen Shu immediately prepared the operation. But Qingcen stopped him. You cannot enter like you did at White Tower. Inside a hospital, you cannot arbitrarily stop systems. You cannot arbitrarily cut audio. You cannot cause patients to panic. You cannot interrupt emergency treatment. Chen Shu asked, then what do you suggest? Qingcen said, secure internal support from the hospital first. I know Mingde's emergency director and the secretary of its ethics committee. But if the hospital has already been deeply connected to Anxu or White Tower, the message cannot leak too early. Lin Yao said, we need an internal witness. Qingcen nodded. Yes. Inside a hospital, the witness should preferably be a doctor or nursing supervisor. Because they know which processes can be stopped and which cannot. Qingcen asked, who can we find? Qingcen was silent for a moment. Emergency Director, Shen Jibai. He is difficult, but he has a bottom line. If he is willing to cooperate, the hospital operation becomes possible. When Lin Yao heard the surname Shen, he asked, a member of the Shen clan? Qingcen said, not the hidden Shen clan. At least not openly. Chen Shu said, contact him. Qingcen immediately called. It rang for a long time before the other side picked up. The background noise on the call was extremely loud. Emergency announcements. The sound of stretchers rolling. Nurses calling bed numbers. A deep, impatient male voice sounded. Qingcen? Shen Jibai, Mingde may have divine domain synchronization contamination risk. I do not have time to listen to mysticism. Anxu Data, White Tower Psychological Support, High Synchronization Calming Audio, Medical Assistance Qualification Stratification. All of them intersect with your hospital. The other end of the phone went quiet for 1 second. Shen Jibai's voice turned cold. Where are you? Online. Who is beside you? Qingcen looked at everyone. 3rd Field Team, 2nd Research Group, Obsidian Safety Point. Shen Jibai was silent for 2 seconds. What the hell is Obsidian Safety Point?
Chen Shu took the communication device.
3rd Field Team, Chen Shu. Responsible person for the terminated incident at the real-world military command point in the abandoned mall.
Shen Jibai's tone changed.
You issued that zero-death report?
Yes.
I read it.
That sentence made everyone slightly startled.
Shen Jibai continued.
Your recommendation not to force real names and not to let original dream speech flow outward. I asked emergency psychiatric consultation to trial a small part of it.
Lin Yao was a little surprised. The zero-death report had already begun influencing hospital frontline practice. Chen Shu asked, results? Shen Jibai said, at least one young person was not pressed into collapse. So I am willing to listen. Lin Yao took over the communication.
Director Shen, Luo Wence has warned that the next node will be in a hospital.
Shen Jibai said coldly, who is Luo Wence?
Someone who can insert correction language into medical, qualification, and psychological support processes. On the other end, Shen Jibai did not immediately curse.
He clearly understood. You suspect Mingde?
Yes.
Evidence? Qingcen sent him a summary of the intersection between Anxu, White Tower, high synchronization calming audio, and Mingde. After quickly reading it, Shen Jibai fell silent.
After a few seconds, he said, tonight, the Youth Psychosomatic Department has a sleep stability group.
The topic is divine domain dream anxiety. The partner is White Tower. Everyone's heart sank. Shen Jibai continued.
Also, the emergency department just admitted a female college student.
Xu Ruoqing. Qingcen's face changed. Was she not taken away by field agents?
Shen Jibai said, she suddenly fainted during transfer and was taken here by a nearby ambulance.
She is now under observation in emergency. She keeps saying one sentence. Lin Yao asked, what sentence?
Shen Jibai's voice lowered slightly.
I cannot be unstable.
The hall fell deathly silent.
Luo Wence had already acted. He had transferred the failure of White Tower reflection into the hospital emergency department.
Xu Ruoqing had become a node again. This time, not in a White Tower cloud room,
but in a real medical scene.
Shen Jibai said, you had better come quickly.
But remember one thing.
In my emergency department, whoever dares to randomly stop machines, shout commands, or touch patients, I will throw them out first.
Chen Shu answered, understood. Lin Yao picked up the metal box.
The hospital battlefield had officially opened. This time, they could not bring only rules. They also had to learn respect for real medical boundaries. Otherwise, Obsidian's rules could also turn from a lamp that saved people into another fire breaking into a ward.
The emergency hall of Mingde General Hospital was never as orderly as outsiders imagined.
Ambulance sirens came in waves from outside the doors. Stretchers rushed through the corridors.
Nurses called out bed numbers. Family members anxiously questioned staff at the triage counter. The electronic cue board kept changing.
The air was mixed with disinfectant, medicine, sweat, and anxiety. This was not the deliberately arranged quietness of White Tower. Nor was it the low stimulation stability of Xu Family Hall. The chaos here was real.
And necessary.
Because the emergency department was a place built to catch all suddenness, loss of control, pain, danger, and uncertainty. As soon as Lin Yao entered, he understood that the hospital chapter could not be handled the way previous incidents were handled. At the abandoned mall, he could cut the broadcast. At the livestream warehouse, he could stop the stream. At White Tower, he could suspend classes, shut down projections, and seal assessments. But here, they could not simply stop things.
A machine might be connected to someone's breathing. A notification might be an emergency medical order. A button might not be correction. It might be a call for a doctor to save a life. So after entering emergency, the first thing he did was not open the metal box. He held it down.
Do not let Obsidian's rules spread before the medical process.
Shen Jibai stood beside the emergency nursing station.
He wore a white coat, sleeves rolled up, with no courtesy on his face. He was around 40. His gaze was very sharp, like someone who had long made decisions inside chaos. When he saw Chen Shu, he only nodded once.
I have temporarily held the patient. Chen Shu asked, Xu Ruoqing? Observation bed 12. Shen Jibai spoke as he walked. Fluctuating consciousness, unstable heart rate, no obvious external injury. When she was brought in, the ambulance record said syncope. But after waking, she kept repeating, I cannot be unstable. Lin Yao asked, has she been sedated?
Shen Jibai stopped and looked at him.
No.
Because before Qingcen called, I had just read your zero-death report.
I do not know how magical your system is.
But at least I know that giving sedation randomly in this situation may press down what she is truly trying to say.
Lin Yao nodded. Thank you. Shen Jibai said coldly, do not thank me yet. If she starts self-harming or attacking others, I will still medicate. Medical necessity comes before your rules. Lin Yao answered, agreed. Shen Jibai paused slightly.
He had expected Lin Yao to argue.
Lin Yao continued. But medical sedation cannot carry correction.
It also cannot send her original dream speech outward.
And her unconscious state cannot be used as correction consent. Shen Jibai looked at him for 2 seconds, then gave a short hum. That sounds human. He led everyone to observation bed 12. Xu Ruoqing lay on the bed, monitoring patches on her wrist.
Her face was pale. Her eyes were open, but unfocused. Her lips moved repeatedly.
I cannot be unstable. I cannot be unstable. Instability will hurt other people.
Qingcen stood beside the bed and said softly, Xu Ruoqing. Xu Ruoqing's gaze moved, but did not fully turn toward her.
I cannot. Lin Yao gestured for Qingcen to pause. He looked at Shen Jibai. Is there immediate medical danger right now? Shen Jibai checked the monitor.
Heart rate is high, but not yet at the point of requiring sedation.
Oxygen saturation normal. No seizure. I can give you 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, if she worsens, I take over. This was the hospital boundary. Lin Yao accepted it.
He did not say, Xu Ruoqing, you can be unstable. That sentence had saved her in the White Tower cloud room, but now Luo Wence had reversely contaminated it into I cannot be unstable. The same rule, placed on a different battlefield, could become a reverse lock. He changed the approach. He took out a sheet of paper and wrote. You are now in a hospital. Doctors are watching your body. You do not need to stabilize for anyone else. Xu Ruoqing's gaze slowly fell on the paper. Her breathing caught slightly. Lin Yao wrote again. Your heartbeat can be left to the doctor first. Your choices can wait. That sentence was important. At White Tower, they had told her that she could be unstable for now. Inside the hospital, they could not simply say instability was fine. Because the hospital truly needed to handle bodily instability. So the new boundary was, bodily instability belongs to doctors, uncertainty and choices can wait. Xu Ruoqing's gaze finally focused a little. Doctor. Shen Jibai stepped closer. I am emergency physician Shen Jibai.
Your heart rate is elevated right now, but it can be handled. You do not need to rely on correction to make your heartbeat normal. That is my job. Tears slid down Xu Ruoqing's face. I do not need to rely on correction. Shen Jibai said, no. If you need medicine, it is medical medication. It is not correction. Lin Yao looked at Shen Jibai. This doctor really was difficult. But on key sentences, he was more precise than any name-settling worker. Xu Ruoqing's heart rate began to drop. Shen Jibai glanced at the monitor. Not bad. I will give you another 3 minutes. Qingcen continued. Xu Ruoqing, you do not need to be tower heart right now. Xu Ruoqing closed her eyes. Did the tower collapse? Lin Yao said, you left it. Not because you were stable. Because you said you did not want to decide right now. Xu Ruoqing murmured, but I fainted again. So did I fail? Shen Jibai said directly, fainting is not a moral failure. It is a medical event. If you fainted from low blood sugar, would that be called a personality failure too? Xu Ruoqing froze. Qingcen almost laughed, but held it back. The sentence was rough, but extremely effective. White Tower had moralized instability. It turned bodily reactions into proof of whether she was stable enough. With one sentence, Shen Jibai pulled it back into medicine. Fainting was fainting. First check blood pressure, heart rate, blood sugar. Do not first judge whether a person is stable enough. Lin Yao recorded a new rule in his heart. Bodily events belong first to medicine, not correction. After Xu Ruoqing gradually steadied, Shen Jibai asked a nurse to adjust the floor rate. He turned back to Lin Yao. She is temporarily fine. But you had better look at this. He handed over a tablet. On the tablet was the schedule for Mingde Hospital's Youth Psychosomatic Group course tonight. Divine Domain Dream Anxiety Sleep Stability Group. Partner, White Tower Psychological Support. Location, Psychosomatic Medicine, 8th floor Group Therapy Room. Time, 2100. It was now 20:37. 23 minutes remained. Shen Jibai said, I already had them pause entry. But the psychosomatic director says this is a legal psychological support course, with parental consent and medical cooperation records. Chen Shu asked coldly, who is in charge? Shen Jibai said, psychosomatic director, Lin Yao. He works closely with White Tower. Yi Jiwei asked, does the course use calming audio? Shen Jibai glanced at her. Your guess is very accurate. The course plan includes a sleep stability audio track. Everyone's face darkened. The hospital version of the White Tower node was not an emergency. Emergency was only the entrance by which Xu Ruoqing had been brought in. The real node was in the Youth Psychosomatic Department's Sleep Stability Group. And there, it wore the outer clothing of parental consent, medical cooperation, psychological support, and calming audio. Lin Yao tightened his grip on the metal box. After failing at White Tower Learning Space, White Tower had moved into the hospital. This time, it no longer called itself Correction Fear Desensitization. It was called a Sleep Stability Group. Safer. More legal. And much harder to stop. The 8th floor of Mingde Hospital was much quieter than emergency. The corridor lights were soft. Posters about children's and teenagers' emotional adjustment hung on the walls. Not sleeping well is not your fault. Anxiety can be understood. Dream distress can seek help. Those slogans themselves had no problem. They were even correct. That was why this was more troublesome. What Luo Wence and White Tower were best at was hiding wrong processes inside correct language.
When Lin Yao's group reached the 8th floor, more than 10 parents and students were already outside the group therapy room. Most of the students were between 14 and 18. Some wore school uniforms. Some held school bags. Some looked exhausted, as if they had been sleep-deprived for a long time. The parents also looked tired. Some anxiously asked why the class had been paused. Some looked down at their phones. One mother said anxiously to a nurse, "My daughter has not dared to sleep for 3 days." You cannot just say stop and stop. The White Tower teacher said tonight's course is very important. The nurse was caught in the middle and looked extremely troubled. Shen Jibai walked over and said with a cold face, "Tonight's course has safety concerns. It is paused." A middle-aged male physician in a suit and thin-framed glasses walked out from the therapy room. "Director Shen, this is not emergency." Shen Jibai looked at him. "Lin Chang'an. The audio track you are using may be related to divine domain synchronization contamination." Lin Chang'an frowned. "This is a sleep stability audio track that passed cooperation review. It is used to reduce youth dream anxiety. It cannot be stopped just because emergency says there might be risk." Qingcen joined through remote communication. Her voice came from Shen Jibai's phone. "Director Lin, this is Qingcen." Lin Chang'an's face changed slightly. "Dr. Lu? Tonight's course involves White Tower psychological support and a high synchronization calming audio track. There have already been cases of White Tower node manipulation of students. I recommend immediate suspension." Lin Chang'an was silent for 1 second, then said, "Dr. Lu, I respect you. But you are not on site. These children truly need sleep support. Over the past week, divine domain dream anxiety has caused insomnia, increased self-harm risk, and impaired school function. We cannot let them continue collapsing because of external concerns." Those words were not entirely wrong. That was precisely why the situation was harder to handle. If Lin Chang'an were a bad person, this would be much simpler. But he looked more like a doctor who believed White Tower's plan could help students. He might even have seen short-term results. Sleeping. Not crying. Not making trouble. Willing to cooperate. Inside a hospital, all of those could easily be seen as improvement. Lin Yao spoke. "Director Lin, we are not asking you to stop sleep support." Lin Chang'an looked at him. "And you are?" "Lin Yao." Lin Chang'an's eyes changed. "Lin Yao from Obsidian Safety Point?" "Yes." "Then you, of all people, should not interfere with medicine." Lin Chang'an's tone cooled. "Your name settling, temporary name, and withdrawal processes may be useful outside. But this is a hospital. Some children do not need more choices. They need to sleep first." Lin Yao nodded. "Agreed." Lin Chang'an froze. Lin Yao continued. "So tonight, sleep support should remain. But correction language, White Tower guidance, qualification assessment, and irreversible confirmation must be removed. If the audio track only helps sleep, it can be used after inspection. If the audio track contains guidance like stop fighting, hand yourself to the process, withdrawal is anxiety, or stability alignment, then it cannot be used." Lin Chang'an frowned. "How do you prove it does?" Yi Jiwei immediately took out her equipment. "Give me the audio track." Lin Chang'an hesitated. Shen Jibai said coldly, "If you refuse, I will notify the hospital of emergency safety risk and suspend it." Lin Chang'an's face was ugly, but in the end he asked his assistant to bring out the audio track. Yi Jiwei did not play it. She only performed silent fingerprint analysis. A few minutes later, the result came out. Her face sank. "This is not the short video contamination segment." Lin Chang'an immediately said, "See? Yi Jiwei continued, but it has a homologous rhythm. And the text guidance layer contains White Tower reflection language.
Lin Chang'an frowned. What is White Tower reflection language? Qingcen projected the key lines.
If you resist stability, gently ask yourself, is this my choice, or anxiety's choice? If you want to withdraw, please wait until the stability process is complete before judging.
Refusal during instability may not be the real you.
Lin Yao looked at Lin Chang'an.
That is the problem. It is not helping them sleep.
It is telling children that refusals made while unstable do not count.
Lin Chang'an fell silent. That sentence was extremely dangerous in medical ethics. Because mental instability truly could affect judgment. But that did not mean every refusal could be delayed until after a process was completed. Especially when the process itself might be correction-oriented. Lu Qingcen's voice was serious. Director Lin, this segment cannot be used.
Lin Chang'an's face struggled.
Then what do we do tonight? These children are already waiting for the course. Their parents are outside. If we suddenly cancel, someone may collapse.
Shen Jibai said directly, then changed the content. Lin Chang'an looked at him.
You are an emergency physician. Do you understand group therapy?
Shen Jibai sneered.
No. But I understand not putting a suspicious audio track into patients' heads.
Lin Yao said, keep the group.
Cancel the White Tower audio track. Change it to Reality Anchor sleep support. Lin Chang'an frowned. What does that mean?
Lin Yao looked at Qingcen. Qingcen rapidly organized methods they had used in Xu Ruoqing's subway station case.
No headphones. No closed eye projection. No tower. No correction. Only simple reality confirmation. Where are you now? What colors are around you? Where are your feet standing? You may say your name or temporary name. Tonight, you do not need to handle all of Divine Domain's problems. You are only preparing to sleep. Lu Qingcen added the medical version. Sleep hygiene can be added. Reduce screen stimulation. Teach families how to accompany nightmare awakenings. Do not handle correction consent. Do not require children to complete stability confirmation.
As Lin Chang'an listened, his expression slowly changed.
He was not completely opposed.
What he truly worried about was that no one would catch the children tonight. If there was an alternative plan, he had a way down.
Who leads it? He asked.
Lin Yao said, you.
Lin Chang'an froze. Me? You are the doctor. The parents trust you. We are not replacing you. We only provide risk boundaries.
That sentence made Lin Chang'an silent for a long time. He looked at the anxious parents and children outside the door, then looked at the White Tower audio track.
Finally, he took a deep breath. Fine. Tonight's course will be changed to sleep safety support. No White Tower audio. No projection. No correction questionnaire. Shen Jibai gave a short hum. You finally sound like a doctor.
Lin Chang'an glared at him.
But he did not argue. The course restarted.
Parents and students were informed that due to safety risk, the original plan had been adjusted. Tonight there would be no correction confirmation, no synchronization assessment, only sleep support and family accompaniment guidance.
At first, some parents were dissatisfied.
But after Lin Chang'an personally explained, most accepted it. Lin Yao stood at the back of the classroom and did not take over.
This was important. Inside a hospital, Obsidian's process could not replace doctors. Lin Chang'an stood at the front.
His tone was still somewhat stiff, but the content had changed.
Tonight, we will not discuss whether you need correction. We will also not discuss whether you are more unstable than other people. We will only handle one thing: how to get through tonight more safely. Several students visibly relaxed. Lin Chong'an continued. If you wake from a nightmare, the first thing is not to look at your phone, and not to search for correction notifications. First, confirm where you are. Look at 3 things in the room. You can call a parent. You can drink water. You can write down the words you heard in the dream, but you do not need to believe them immediately. Hearing this, Lin Yao knew that the first piece of the hospital version of Obsidian's process had fitted into place. It was not Obsidian entering the hospital. It was the medical process absorbing the boundaries of name settling. That was better than Lin Yao standing up to speak himself. Halfway through the course, the metal box glowed faintly. A system prompt appeared. Medical scene adaptation, sleep safety support. Effect: replaces correction fear desensitization with reality anchor sleep support. New rule: medical support may remain, correction orientation must be stripped away. Lin Yao looked at the prompt and relaxed slightly. But at that moment, communication suddenly came from Shen Jibai in emergency. Lin Yao. Xu Ruoqing's state has changed again. She is not saying correction dream speech. She has begun saying another name. Lin Yao asked, what name?
Shen Jibai said heavily, Zhou Mian.
Lin Yao's pupils constricted. Xu Ruoqing was in emergency, yet had begun saying Zhou Mian's name. The qualification lock, White Tower, and medical assistants were connecting across cases. The real core of the hospital chapter was likely not the sleep group. It was Xu Ruoqing in emergency, being connected into a new real-world relay. When Lin Yao hurried back to emergency, the area around Xu Ruoqing's observation bed had already been screened off with privacy curtains. It was not a lockdown. It was to prevent other patients and families from gathering to watch. Shen Jibai stood beside the bed with a medical chart in hand, his expression uglier than before. The monitor showed her heart rate rising and falling, but it remained within a controllable range. Xu Ruoqing was no longer repeating that she could not be unstable as she had earlier. Now her eyes were closed, and she was intermittently murmuring. Zhou Mian. Assistance qualification. Withdrawal record. Medical invalidation. Zhou Mian. Xinwan's face turned pale. She does not know Zhou Mian. Shen Jibai looked at Lin Yao.
So this is not her own memory.
Yi Jiwei immediately performed fluctuation analysis without recording. Not ordinary dream speech.
It is more like data linkage. Lin Yao walked to the bedside, but did not directly call Xu Ruoqing's name. She was currently saying Zhou Mian. If he forcibly pulled her back, it might cause greater confusion. He looked at Shen Jibai.
Medical status?
Still observable. But if her heart rate rises again, I will give low-dose sedation.
Acceptable, Lin Yao said. But before medication, remind her, this is medical medication, not correction. Shen Jibai nodded. I know. Lin Yao began to analyze. Why was Xu Ruoqing saying Zhou Mian? What did the two have in common?
Both had been affected by the qualification lock. Xu Ruoqing had dead whitelist inherited weight and White Tower traction. Zhou Mian had her sister's medical assistance and correction qualification threats. Both sets of data might have entered Anxu medical assistance or White Tower psychological support modules. Now Xu Ruoqing was in Mingde Hospital's emergency department, and Mingde had Anxu and White Tower processes connected. So she might have been temporarily connected as a data relay by some hospital side system. Not an active human brain relay exporting commands, but a patient data relay. One patient's bodily state was being used to pull another person's qualification data.
After Lin Yao voiced this inference, Shen Jibai's face turned completely dark. You are saying some system linked her emergency state to another person's assistance qualification? Qingcen hurriedly checked Mingde's systems. But hospital system permissions were extremely complicated. Shen Jibai directly used his physician authority and opened the emergency observation record. After she was admitted, the system automatically triggered a psychological support risk assessment. Assessment sources. He stopped. White Tower Cooperation Plugin. Yi Jiwei immediately asked, "Can it be turned off?" Shen Jibai looked at the system.
It is not an emergency core system.
It is an external assessment plugin. It can be paused. He clicked Disable without hesitation.
A system prompt appeared.
Disabling psychological support risk assessment may affect the patient's subsequent assistance qualification and referral services. Shen Jibai sneered. Here it is again. He directly confirmed. But a second-level prompt appeared. If disabled, the patient will temporarily lose White Tower stability support. Shen Jibai's face turned black. She came to emergency. She did not come here to climb a tower. He confirmed again.
After the plugin was disabled, the frequency with which Xu Ruoqing said Zhou Mian dropped a little.
But it did not fully stop. Yi Jiwei said, "There is another data source." Shen Jibai continued searching.
Very quickly, he found the second connection.
Medical Assistance Qualification Pre-Evaluation. Partner, Anxu data. Trigger condition, patient suspected of synchronization anxiety and has assistance-related records.
Shen Jibai looked so angry that the veins at his temples jumped.
Why is this thing in an emergency observation record? Qingcen said, because Anxu connected medical assistance qualifications into it. Xu Ruoqing's family relationship includes dead whitelist inheritance. Zhou Mian's sister's assistance qualification is also in Anxu's system. They may have been linked by the same qualification module. Shen Jibai asked, "Can it be stopped?" Qingcen said, "The Anxu module on Mingde's side requires hospital authority." Shen Jibai directly called the information office. "This is emergency, Shen Jibai.
Immediately suspend the Anxu medical assistance pre-evaluation plugin on the emergency side."
The person on the other end seemed to say something. Shen Jibai's voice became terrifyingly cold.
"I do not care about the contract.
Right now it is interfering with an emergency patient.
If you do not stop it, in 5 minutes I will write this into an adverse event report with your name attached."
The other end went quiet. 30 seconds later, the system displayed.
Anxu medical assistance pre-evaluation plugin suspended.
Xu Ruoqing suddenly drew in a breath. She no longer said Zhou Mian. But she began to cry. I do not know her. Why did I keep hearing her?
Qingcen held the bed rail and did not touch her directly.
Because the system connected the two of you. It is not your fault. And it is not Zhou Mian's fault.
Lin Yao added, "You do not need to stabilize for her. And she does not need to preserve your qualification."
Xu Ruoqing cried harder. I just wanted to sleep. Shen Jibai said, "Then sleep. Medically, I can help you sleep. But it will not be correction sleep. It will not be White Tower sleep. It will just be emergency letting you rest first."
He explained the use, risks, and duration of a low-dose short-acting medication to Xu Ruoqing. After hearing it, Xu Ruoqing nodded.
I consent.
Lin Yao noticed that this was the cleanest consent of the night.
It was not forced by correction.
It was not threatened by qualification. It was not induced by White Tower.
After the doctor clearly explained purpose, risk, and stoppability, she consented to medication and rest. That was the difference between medical consent and correction consent. After Shen Jibai administered the medication, Xu Ruoqing gradually fell asleep. The heart rate on the monitor also stabilized. A system prompt appeared. New medical scene category, emergency relay. Definition: a patient is passively used to transmit another person's qualification, correction, echo, or dream speech information because of external assessment plugins, qualification modules, or synchronization data linkage. Handling: stop non-essential plugins, preserve medical core systems, inform the patient that responsibility does not lie with them. New rule: medical consent and correction consent must be separated. Lin Yao organized the prompt into real-world language. After Shen Jibai read it, he said directly, "I want this written into the hospital internal report." Chen Shu nodded. Third field team supports it. Yi Jiwei said, "The second research group observation summary also supports it." Shen Jibai sneered. "Your research group should manage its data first." Yi Jiwei did not argue. At that moment, the hospital broadcast sounded. Youth Psychosomatic Department, 8th floor group therapy room. Director Lin Chang'an, please proceed to the nursing station. The voice was normal. But Lin Yao's heart moved. Broadcast. Hospital broadcasts were too common. No one would doubt them. Shen Jibai also frowned. That was not one of ours. The next second, the broadcast sounded again. Family members participating in the sleep stability group, please proceed to the 8th floor to complete supplemental consent. Failure to complete supplemental consent within the time limit will affect subsequent medical referral. Everyone's face changed at the same time. Supplemental consent. Time limit. Medical referral. Luo Wence had finally connected the hospital's most sensitive language. He was not acting in emergency. After the 8th floor course was adjusted, he had shifted to family supplemental consent. Chen Shu turned directly. 8th floor. Shen Jibai handed the medical chart to a nurse. "I am going too." Lin Yao looked at him. Shen Jibai said coldly, "Inside my hospital, supplemental consent cannot be used as a correction entrance." The second battle of the hospital chapter shifted from emergency relay to family consent.